honorable members of the council, ministers of the council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication, the Honorable Roger Lawrence, to address you. Minister Lawrence, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, persons listening to various media platforms, and to the members of the press. I want to give a level of significance and recognition to the Caribbean Tourism Organization in celebrating Caribbean Tourism Month in the month of November, reaffirming its purpose of leading sustainable tourism, one sea, one voice, one Caribbean. This year's theme is Caribbean Comeback. I want to make a key significance to this, especially with the positive business bounce back we are anticipating. Over the course of this week already, discussions were had with the port and the airport as it relates to MSC cruise calls, not only from a transit standpoint that will be starting the end of this month, but also from a home porting standpoint. I'm happy to report as it relates to the home porting initiative, it has reached a very positive conclusion, whereby we are anticipating home porting calls with MSC will start as of early December until March 2022. We can expect a total of 18 calls to St. Martin. The ships will operate with approximately averaging between 60 to 70% capacity. From a destination standpoint, home porting will increase our destination's growth by adding flights and stayover accommodation. Based on the discussions with MSC, we'll be receiving an additional of 4 charter flights on a weekly basis. This will positively impact the hospitality industry, such as hoteliers, transportation, and restaurants. I commend both Port St. Martin and the airport for their collaboration. This is a significant step towards our recovery process. As it relates to extending the opening time, and with continuous collaboration and dialogue with my colleague Minister Otley, and looking at the current cases and the trajectory, we are planning as of November 5th to extend our opening time to 3 a.m., ensuring all necessary precautions and firm protocols are in effect. In closing, I have received a few questions if business will open on St. Martin Day. After discussing with the Council of Ministers, I'm hereby informing that businesses will be closed in observation and respect for our National Day. An announcement in this effect will be sent out this week. I am pressed for time today and I will be leaving shortly. However, please, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me via various means, and I will ensure that responses are rather swiftly. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Lawrence, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, the Honorable Egbert Duran, to address you. Minister Duran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the media, and a special good morning to the people of St. Martin. I have a few brief updates before I delve into them. I would like to send out my condolences to the family of Jocelyn Arnell. May he rest in peace, especially to his wife and his children. I wish them much strength in these difficult times. Mr. Arnell was an icon for St. Martin and did a lot for this country, especially where our culture is concerned. I would like to give an update on the meeting that I had last night, a town hall meeting with the residents of Belvedere. As I expected, it was very tense, and persons expressed their concerns with regards to their living conditions. This is not new to me because I personally had the opportunity to view some of these situations, which some were corrected in the meantime. However, there's a lot of work to be done. Based on the assessment that we have started, I plan to collect all the data, put it in writing to the Housing Foundation, and also request definitive timelines as to when they expect to have these repairs done. I believe that with true collaboration, we will be able to accomplish a lot, but we have to remember that it takes two hands to clap, and cooperation is very vital. We have persons that are living in some seriously deplorable conditions. I know that the works on the towers should commence very soon. One of the concerns brought forth as well was potential home ownership for some of those that have been renting for quite a while, and also that live in the townhouses and the duplex and so forth. I believe that home ownership is very vital for the growth of a nation. So therefore, that will be also one of the topics that I will be bringing up with the Housing Foundation with respect to such. As was mentioned last week, the streetlight project is ongoing via GB through the streetlight management agreement that GB has with the government of St. Martin. It has been progressing very well, and I look forward to lighting up more districts very soon. One of the challenges that we face with that project as well is that certain areas have old poles and old connections that will require an entire whole new project. So therefore, if you see that nothing is happening in your area, there's a reason for that. Namely, Ebenezer is one of those challenge areas. Nevertheless, I'm busy in discussions with GB, seeing how we could work on some of those points. I would like to also update the people of St. Martin that we are currently working on the policy for the issuance of long lease land. We have been working on one before. We started dialogue with the Integrity Chamber as well, who assists government with policy also. That is one of the roles that they can assist us with. Those consultations started. We also had internal meetings with our policy department as well. So therefore, we are in full force, busy trying to accomplish this and have it done. Once this is done, more details will be forthcoming. Rolika, I would like to leave it there for now, and I look forward to any questions members of the media might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Sylvia Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning. Good morning to my colleagues. Good morning to the members of the press, you, Ms. Roach, and of course, the listening and viewing public, people of St. Martin. Thank you so much for joining us. In joining my colleague, I must mention condolences to the family of the late Jocelyn Arndell. It is with great sadness that we take note of his passing. As a government, he has indeed been a cultural icon, as well as a former senior civil servant here with government for many, many years. Even as we start to compile all of the information, it is mind-boggling the contributions Mr. Arndell has made, and as his family, they can all stand proud for those contributions. Also being a member of the string band, famous string band at that, St. Martin's own Tanny and the Boys, well-respected civil servant, and he will surely be missed. We do extend our deepest condolences to the family, friends, and former colleagues of Mr. Arndell. Moving on, of course, during this week, the Constitution Court ruled that government did not act unconstitutionally. I think this past Monday, several were, let's say, in tuned to see what the result would be. And it is not something that we will be standing here as government to say that we're boasting about. These were decisions that had to be made under heavy duress with the goals of ensuring that we could maintain this government. And now with this court's decision, we can, let's say, move forward knowing that it is the best that could be done under the circumstances. We've done all that we could to avoid cutting into the basic salaries of our civil servants, and instead, we opted to reduce benefits. Our approach and our reasonable decision to seek as much as possible to maintain the buying power of our civil servants, and despite being in a very difficult time for the entire country as well as the rest of the world, has been vindicated to some extent. In addition, to improve St. Martin's financial position, other general cost-cutting measures were also implemented. So I think that effort by St. Martin to cut its expenditures was noted, notably with data usage, gas usage, etc., reducing travel, as well as redundancy pay for the political authorities. And we did one time implement the cut on the salaries of the elected and appointed officials. We continue to assess and address any ways that we can cut unnecessary expenditures to be more effective and efficient. In fact, we had no choice when liquidity support was delayed for several months to really prioritize our payments. And of course, we're still, making headway to catch up with that. We aim to be much more effective and efficient, especially in dealing with our public funds and in this depressed economic period, even as we look forward to improved economic development for St. Martin, and pray and hope that, of course, these measures can be lifted as soon as economically feasible. As such, government has or is in the process of planning another meeting. As you know, last week I met with the civil servants in a Teams meeting. And so another meeting, I didn't tell them that once the Constitution court had rendered its decision, that we would come back to them to give updates, and that is being planned as we speak. Of course, also to be followed up by meetings with the unions, the relevant unions, in the coming weeks. As has been strongly emphasized by the court, this government will continue, mind you, because that has always been our mindset, to consider the human dimension, the individual persons that these laws affect when taking the decisions on the next steps forward. We are still in the month of November, or we just entered the month of November, the last month of the hurricane season. And I do remind all that at the end of this month, the 2021 Atlantic season will end, but we continue to prepare for any eventuality. We've noted also that there have been some seismic activity. So we do ask you to update yourselves, go to the government website in terms of what should be done in case of any impending disasters. All emergency support functions have been attending trainings and have their plans in place for the season, the hurricane season, as well as other types of disasters. As such, I ask you all not to be complacent, be prepared, be aware, stay informed, and follow official government information channels for instructions. Also, we are in the month of November when we celebrate St. Martin Day. St. Martin Day will be celebrated in conjunction with our northern partners. Unfortunately, due to the time and logistics needed to plan for an extensive celebration, and at that time we were in the midst of a COVID spike, the determination had been taken to do it virtual. The only live parts of the St. Martin Day celebration will be a church service and the laying of wreaths at the border monument by the official dignitaries. I ask everyone who are going out and attending any privately prepared celebrations to remember to maintain good COVID-19 protocols. In fact, any and all celebrations that are planned must go through the regular permitting process through the Justice Ministry and the VSR Ministry to ensure that all protocols are in place. We want to have a safe season. We want to remain open. And so all celebrations should be tempered with proper preparations. We are still in the COVID-19 pandemic. Even though things are improving, we do ask you to beware of your surroundings and ensure that you are always prepared. I will leave it at that for now, Ralaika, and I stay available for any questions from the media. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session. However, before we begin, I would like to inform that the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Artwell Edion, is present, however, will not be making any opening statements, but is available for any questions the media may have. The floor is open, and I would like to invite Bibi Hart Shah of SMN News. You have the floor.
Good morning, Ralaika. Good morning, ministers and colleagues. Thank you, Ralaika. My question is for the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, I'm asking you this question as the shareholder representative, and I'd also like for you to confirm or let me know whether or not the Minister of TIAT was given full mandate for this government-owned company that I'm going to ask about. Since the agreement signed with PJIE government and Schiphol, we have seen at least 3 Dutch CFO appointed. I don't know if there is a rotation process or what kind of process, Prime Minister, but there has been three. The third took office, I believe, on November 1st. I'd like to know why exactly hasn't government appointed the counterpart CFO as the agreement dictate? Prime Minister, I'd like to know if St. Martin does not have qualified people to take up this position and if a recruitment process was done locally to find a candidate.
Thank you for the question, Ms. Shaw. I am not the shareholder rep. None of our ministers are any appointed or mandated shareholders rep to date. As a council of ministers, we stand collectively responsible. Of course, in several situations, the council of ministers will determine who will speak on a subject, which minister will represent, or to what extent they are mandated to do specific tasks. However, all decision-making is with the Council of Ministers as the shareholder. As such, the Council of Ministers has been updated about the change of the CFO position at PGIAE. As you know, I think I mentioned it before, it was asked before, this current CFO replaced the previous one based on personal reasons, and that is again the reasons being given based on personal reasons of the current CFO needing to leave for whatever reasons. We don't divulge and we do not investigate. However, the agreement stands, and so that replacement takes place internally. And that is why you might call it a rotation. It's not a rotation. It wasn't planned that way, but it's let's say, a reaction to the reality. Secondly, the purview of appointing a counterpart does not lie with the shareholder, but with the operating company. So within the agreements that have been signed, it is with the operating company to do its due diligence. And whether that has been finalized or not is not with the Council of Ministers or shareholders at this time. What we do know is with all that has gone on over the history, that the vision of this government and shareholder is that is executed, and that has been passed on to the relevant authorities who have to ensure that that takes place. And we will, of course, inform why that has not taken place as yet and the timeline for such. So indeed, that has our attention as well and is a priority for the shareholder. I do believe that answers your question.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Ralph Cantab of Phillipsburg Broadcasting. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach, and good morning to everyone in the room. My question is for the Minister of Roaming and Minister of Finance. And my question is, what is your take on the statements that were published in the recording of the President of Parliament, and do you denounce the implications of his statement that referenced the both of you?
Good morning. Thank you for the question, Mr. Kantav. Good morning again to the people of St. Martin. I would like to say that I consider MP Bryson to be a brilliant person who I've worked with since 2018, and we were able to learn a lot from each other. We haven't agreed on every point, I must say that. We had some strong disagreements in the past. In regards to the part about the permit statement, this was not based on any discussion that I had with the respective MP. The MP was probably expressing himself in that moment, and therefore I cannot speak for him. What I have to say, however, there was no agreement, no deal or anything like that with regards to anything to do with permits. If you listen carefully to the part when he mentioned about deals, it was cut off. One thing I know for sure that the MP always states, I have it in group chats, in the coalition chat and everything, we have a deal as the young boys to keep this coalition together. So I think that the person that was editing the tape should have, allowed that part to be ended. Of course, I cannot say because I was not in the room. However, that is a discussion that we've had on several occasions. So with that being said, I hope that the parties involved, internally as a UP party, could be able to solve their issues amicably. No house is without issues, and he who is without sin casts the first stone. And I've made mistakes in the past. We all make mistakes, and I look forward to that being resolved so that we could go back and focus on the issues. I've seen, last night it was, the Atlanta Braves won the World Series, where you have young prominent Carusolinian that won. So while Caruso is celebrating those wins, we are here discussing who should be the member of parliament, who should be the president of parliament. I think that our priorities are really mixed up in certain instances. We cannot ignore the facts. However, I believe that we need to get back to what we took the oath for and serve the people. Thank you.
Good morning to the media. Good morning to the council of ministers. Good morning to the people of St. Martin. I believe the Minister of Rumi said most of what I would have said also, especially in regards to the permits and so forth. Also in regards to any deals, obviously there is a deal on that we agreed to, which was the governor accord. We also, the MP also mentioned numerous times on radio, in person, in parliament, that we are now, or I think close to being the longest government on the island, and that he is looking forward to continue this progress for the next 2 years. So he will not be breaking government, and that's his deal. That's the only deal that I know outside of the government accord and the agreements that we have as a government. And also agreements in terms of communication, parliament agreements, and so forth. So that's the only agreements that I can reference from the MP. I will leave the rest for him to explain. I believe he has apologized also. I also believe that it's unfortunate that such a recording took place and then subsequently has been leaked to the media. But in addition to that, also being spliced up. I believe that in a moment of anger, a lot of persons say a lot of different things. And you yourself, and I believe a lot of the media have been at the House of Parliament before and after meetings. And I'm pretty sure you yourself have witnessed discussions that have happened before and after meetings. And so that the general public don't get to see. And I think you all can account for that. And you've heard things that were said and actions. So I believe that, as the minister said, mistakes happened, mistakes were made. I believe that he will work internally with his party and the faction leader on solving their issues. Matter of fact, I know that for a fact that they will be working on this. And I look forward for the MP coming out of this a lot stronger than the incident itself.
Thank you, Minister Duran and Minister Edian and Ralph for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. As the question goes for the Minister of Finance, I want to say that we have to accept people for who they are and love them and work with them. The question is, Minister of Finance, CFT is here again. Can you tell the people of St. Martin, I assume you have meeting with them, of course, we're gonna be meeting them shortly. What is in the good favor for St. Martin? I mean, you have some kind of meeting. Can you give us some hope? If there was a hopeful meeting.
Thank you for your question, Mr. Brown, and you are right. We should love all people. And in addition to that, yes, I do have a meeting with CFT actually right after this press briefing. And the preliminary discussions that I heard are that we have a much improved budget. I haven't seen the comments myself. So I look forward to this upcoming meeting with the CFT right after this, and then subsequently will inform the media on that discussion.
Thank you, Minister Edian, and thank you, Lyndon, for the question. Stephen Cerillion of PJDC Radio, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Roach. Good morning to you, Prime Minister. Ministers, good morning to you as well. My question is for the Prime Minister. In handing down the ruling of the Constitutional Court on this week, Prime Minister, the President clearly stated that there is a need to do studies in terms of trying to understand what the poverty line is on St. Martin. Is that something that your government is willing to look into to at least better address this aspect of life?
Thank you for that question, Stephen. Indeed, That has been one of our priorities moving forward since coming into office. There has been no cost of living assessment done for quite some years. And so I did request one via the SER, and that has been pending. Of course, every time something else pops up in terms of to be handled, then that gets pushed off. And I believe the SER handled the ZVOV ordinance ahead of this request. So it is to be handled, and I'm still waiting that response from the Social Economic Council on it. So once I've received that, then we have a better basis of where we stand in terms of cost of living on St. Martin and what we need to do to bring down some of the cost drivers, including, of course, addressing together with the Ministry of VSR the minimum wage, etc. So that has our attention.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Stephen, for the question. We now move on to the second round. Bibi Shaw, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relaika. Prime Minister, and I'm going to ask this to all three of you, because two persons or three at least answer to the question of my colleague with regard to the leaked or the recording that we've been hearing over the weekend and all the fireworks from all the different factions of Parliament. Prime Minister, has anyone within government addressed the secret taping and the breach in national security with this taping that has gone viral?
Unfortunately, and I don't know what my colleagues would have to say about that, I am not in possession of this recording. I would believe that the persons who it entails, it's not a government leak, so it is for the persons who are involved to follow up with investigating the motive and the persons who would see it necessary to execute such a job. Indeed, both of my colleagues addressed this matter with the question from the previous reporter, and I believe I've said quite some in the public. I had an interview toevallig on Monday morning with Ms. Grace Blyden on PJD2, and the question was dealt with, I think, quite sufficiently. It is unfortunate that something like this happened and was recorded, and I believe to denounce anything at this point after someone has already apologized makes little to no sense. We've had several conversations. There is a serious feeling of contrition on behalf of the Member of Parliament. And as a coalition, I have said this in our meetings, we're as strong as our weakest link or as strong as our strongest link. And MP Bryson has been a bridge for the two parties to be able to work together. And we believe that he can be forgiven for this. It is not something that any of us can say we have not done. We're just lucky to not have been recorded in a moment of anger, frustration, or whatever it may be. The job is filled with pressures. And as I've said in the past, we all can learn from past mistakes. And so I'm hoping that not just the MP is seen as a scapegoat. And as Minister said, you without sin cast the first stone. And it is uncanny for me, the type of allegations coming from persons who have made a mockery of the floor of Parliament as to how Parliament is now displayed. Because this is something that was recorded in private, and it concerns an internal matter of the UP party. However, what is said on the floor of Parliament doesn't receive this level of scrutiny. And so that I would like to challenge all factions within the Parliament to raise the bar there as well. Because when you speak on the floor of Parliament, you also speak not just to the St. Martin community, but to the international community and the mudslinging that takes place there, and the outcry from the public on that goes ignored. That goes ignored. The bashing of women that takes place there also goes ignored. But I, as a female leader in this country, have learned one thing, that is in an office that I hold, and every insult thrown at the office is at the office, and I refuse to take it personally. In that much, I have grown. And I would ask the people of St. Martin that it is a test of each and every person, how we react to situations. Those who gloat and beat their chests and rejoice on the fall of others, you will be judged in time.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs. Thank you, Bibi, for the question. Ralph Cantaf, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Question for the Minister of Finance. And my question for you is on the status of the budget and also the rollout of payments for SSRP, as you know, many persons have yet to be paid still.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you for your question. In regards to the budget was sent to CFT. We expected back, I believe, either Friday or Monday. That would have given them the 2 weeks that they need. Also, the budget also has been sent to the Council of Advice, and they have a legal time span of 6 weeks, which has also been sent to them last week. So we are hoping that they do finalize their report in a shorter time period than the 6 weeks given. In addition to the SRP, I know payments are happening. What I did get in is that persons did not follow all of the rules of SRP in the past. And in regards to those companies, delays are happening. So yes, I do know that payments are happening, but again, you have to follow the requirements, and some companies did not, and those details are being worked out.
Thank you, Minister Edion, and thank you, Ralph, for the question. Lyndon Brown, you have the floor.
Question to the Prime Minister. Ministers and parliamentarians make an oath to serve the people of St. Martin. And the Prime Minister must be admired. She is speaking as a Prime Minister and as a mother. This is not no favoritism, this is reality. And the Council of Ministers have shows that they are superior to the rhetorics and the orangutan in Parliament. And Minister, can you declare it's like the State of Union, the standard? Because in some time in life, Minister, we must have pride and dignity. Can you address this behavior which is not comely to the people of St. Martin, Minister?
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I believe in my, let's say, unscripted statements a few minutes ago that I did just that. I would like the people of St. Martin to focus on the more pertinent issues, the serious issues, while not detracting at all from the negative statements, from the incorrect and disrespectful statements that have been made by this one member that has unfortunately been recorded and released to bring him down. I believe we need to focus as a country on recovery. We need to focus on carrying this country out of the deficit that we are in. This is not a government problem. This is a St. Martin challenge. And as we go into celebrating St. Martin Day, I am focused on building a nation. I'm looking at forming a committee, a nation-building committee to focus on this area, on ways in which we can grow national pride, in ways in which we can grow individual commitment to developing St. Martin instead of tearing it down. It is a culture that we have created, and social media gives us that platform. But it also gives us a platform to share our cultural heritage. It gives us a platform to build love for this country. And with knowledge and understanding of where we have been, what it took for us to get here, and sharing what is needed for us to move to the next level of more financial and economical independence so that we can truly say we're a sovereign country, that is where we want to go. And that is where we need to focus. Negative things happen, we get up, we dust off, and we start over, or we continue. That is a resilience of the St. Martin people. And I'm hoping that that would be our focus from here on in. Acknowledging mistakes, fixing them, and moving forward. But as the longest standing government in this first, let's call it 11 years, we want to actually do what we set out to do, which each government set out to do, is have 4 years to execute a program towards the improvement for the people of St. Martin. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Lyndon. Stephen Cerillion, you have the floor.
Thank you again, Ms. Roach. My question is for the Minister of Finance. Since the arrival of the COVID-19 pandemic, Minister, we have been seeing, in fact, what we are going to see is an increase in activities of tourism to the island. What does that spell out for the coffers of government?
Thank you for your question, Civilian. In regards to the expected growth, the central bank has an expected growth of 14.4%. And yes, as positive as this may be, we also have to understand that we're coming out of a dip. So it's not that we were on the regular level and then we have an exponential growth at 14.4%. We had a dip first, and now we're coming out of the dip at 14.4% in comparison to Curacao, which is believed to be at 4%. So we are showing significant growth. It's not a growth that would mean that we're out of the danger zone. You know, we are recovering from the pandemic. As you saw, that we had almost 800 businesses that applied in the top of the year last year during the peak of the pandemic that needed SSRP. All those businesses have to recover, and it's going to take some time for them to fully recover. I do expect to see better results in regards to our taxes, of course, in 2022 compared to 2021. But we don't have a estimated forecast for that as yet, but we will use the central bank figures in regards to growth to create our forecast before the end of the year.
Thank you, Minister Eden, and thank you, Stephen, for the question. We now move on to the third round of questions. Bibi Hasha, you have the floor.
Prime Minister, based on the ruling given by the Constitutional Court and the laws that have been, you can say, validated by the court, the cuts are supposed to be 12.5%. Am I correct? And you have government-owned companies like Winair, cuts 25%. There was a court case with Winair, but in fact, the ruling from the Constitutional Court contradicts the ruling that was given by the judge for the case with the pilots filed against Winair. Today, you have Winair hiring more staff to maintain that 25% cut instead of spreading out their work and making sure that their employees get a better salary to take home. What's your opinion on that? And have you gotten any update with the current brew that is taking place at Winair?
Thank you for the question, Ms. Shaw. Winair did indeed win its court case. That was large, and just like we are not gloating about the win, they did not either. However, we were in Parliament, and they were able to respond to the questions of the Member of Parliament in regards to that. We were also presented with that information. Winair made their decision way before these laws came into play. That was based on their income dropping drastically. They implemented a policy that was already in place for the low season when there are already less flights. So something that pilots had agreed with, workers in Winair had agreed with prior to a pandemic. So this is an ongoing policy that they implemented after discussions with the pilots and with their relevant unions in agreement. Once there's an agreement, the law will not go beyond that. The laws that were recently validated at 12.5% does not limit a company from going beyond 12.5%. That was also part of the ruling. So Winair is allowed with agreement to do differently, which is what they are doing. What they further explained is as their flights increased, they would continue. What they also explained that the pilots, when schedules allowed, made 4 flights made. So if they worked more than 75%, they made more than 75%. So they were paid. So whereas we have a no work, no pay rule, they were paid for the extra work carried out. So at times, persons would probably have made, even during that time, 100% or more, depending on the flights. And so they were only bringing in more pilots when whatever is the case is not able to be managed. And they would remove the cut when they were able to make the funds to be able to pay the full amount. So when the production they mentioned reached, I believe, whether it was 70 or 80, don't quote me on the number. It was stated in that parliament meeting, and I do have it in writing, so it can be sent to you. But I believe when it reached 70% of the previous year's income, then they would be able to maintain on a regular basis the 100% salaries. So as far as I know, that is still the policy being executed, and I believe it's a fair one.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Bibi, for the question. Ralph Kantav, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. I have a question for, I guess we'll say, other ministers. And I'm asking this understanding that there's a limit to what I'm about to say in terms of government's ability. But this also touches on something, another video that was viral on social media that probably may not have gotten much attention, which is that of a student from St. Martin, Joshua Bowers, who was mistreated by, police force at his student housing in the Netherlands and captured on video. And so my question is, what action has government taken or can take to assist him and ensure that justice is served? But also, this is not the first time that this has happened, and it can happen to another student from St. Martin studying abroad. So what is your take on that?
Thank you, Ralph. It did not go unnoticed by me, and definitely not by, I believe I saw it on the Minister of Finance's Instagram. That's how I saw it, and I immediately reached out to the Minister Plenipotentiary in The Hague and his director. And as a matter of fact, they were, because they're 5-6 hours ahead of us, they were already aware and in contact. A complaint has already been filed by Mr. Bowers, and our department or our extension of the ministry in The Hague is assisting him as much as possible to get the necessary assistance. And though it is not necessarily our job to do that, besides representing St. Martin government in The Hague, the cabinet of the plenipotentiary minister, also known as the St. Martin House, is a sort of a beacon for St. Martiners, not just students. And they have played that role in the past to facilitate anything that our St. Martin people have to face in the Netherlands, and they will continue to do that. So I encourage any St. Martiners living in the Netherlands and facing any challenge that would require some intervention or even assistance on what route to follow, what path to follow, to contact Minister Rene Violinas and or Carol Vogels, his director, and I believe they have a liaison person in the person of Kelly Busby as well. And they are ready and willing to serve as a liaison and to assist any St. Martiners with any challenges they are facing. Of course, we cannot just, assist in the way that some people may think, but definitely giving a wegwijzer, a way on how to resolve certain challenges. And we know we're living in the Black Lives Matter era, and these types of videos have been circulating. This is definitely not the first. And we hope that in sharing it, that it will mitigate and diminish the occurrences whereby we feel that we are treated unfairly in the public sphere. And we wish him much speed, knowing his character. Of course, they say it's only a part of the video you're seeing as well. And of course, a full investigation will have to take place in terms of what preceded and what happened after. So I don't believe anything should be taken out of context, but definitely that was not a spliced video, and what was seen should definitely be investigated to the fullest extent of the law.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, and thank you, Ralph, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown. You have the floor.
Question between the Minister of Romy and the Minister of Finance. It's have been surging over the years that the Belvedere Home Foundation members have been disappointed for years. Now it is on the front page, Minister, and according to some article that there are over 50-something% that live there, and what they're saying, they have, over 20 years, they have the right to buy this property, Minister. And seeing that St. Martin badly need funds, 50-something%, and selling these houses and what they're saying that we are eligible to buy. Has the Minister of Rumi and the Minister of Finance will consider this option?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Brown. In my opening remarks, I did mention that that was one of the main points that was discussed last night. As Minister of Housing, I definitely encourage home ownership. That has been one of my main focus points with everything, especially with most recent the project that I started with the ministry with the vineyard. So therefore, home ownership is something that I definitely promote. We've been pushing building permits. So to answer your question, I believe that it is an option that should be presented to these individuals because at the end of the day, it would not only enhance their quality of life by empowering them that they own something, but it also helps the Housing Foundation in terms of having funds. We have a meeting tomorrow with the Housing Foundation. When I say we, the Council of Ministers has a meeting with the Housing Foundation, and definitely all the points that I took down last night will be brought forward to them. And I believe that, sometimes you have to really level with the people in the sense of listen to their concerns and their cries. I mean, this is nothing new. This has been going on for years, and at a point in time, it has to stop in the sense of the points and the concerns of the people need to be addressed. I will be personally taking a tour to some of the homes that I heard about last night because some of them were some serious situations and it sounds very troubling. I saw some for myself already during the past, but this is something that I want to take up, and I will definitely, I would want to reassure and as I indicated last night, guarantee the persons of Belvedere, not only Belvedere, because you have different areas as well where the Housing Foundation manages that they are dealing with their challenges, that you have my full commitment that I will definitely address these issues. What people tend to not understand as well is that the Housing Foundation is a foundation, and government does not own the Housing Foundation or can force the Housing Foundation to do certain things. However, there's a level of accountability, especially with the performance agreements and also them having to show their books and all these different things. And I believe that at the end of the day, we all sit in various positions and we know what our functions are. We should not depend on anybody to come with a heavy hand and or anything alike to tell you what you need to do. I believe that you should know what you need to do. And I've seen, I'll be honest, a lack of action in that area in terms of development on their end over the last years. So it has my full attention, and hopefully coming out of the meeting tomorrow, we will have some more definitive timelines because I'm at the point right now where I'm tired of having fruitful meetings and good discussions. I want to see some results. I want some definitive timeline so that I can give people something to hold and actually show them results. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran, and thank you, Lyndon, for the question. I would now like to invite Stephen Cerulean. You have the final question.
Thank you, Ms. Rocha. And talking about results, Minister of Rami, as I previously made mention to the Minister of Finance, we are going to see some increase in activities of tourism arrival to the island. What is your ministry doing, Minister, to remedy the unmarked road situation on St. Martin?
Coincidentally, I saw an email passing by yesterday in terms of getting quotations to have that done. And we're starting with all the pedestrian crossings and all the different marks in the road, especially the roads that were able to be completed in the last couple of weeks. We also have a meeting coming up. You mentioned tourism and the boom. I have a meeting with the Minister of TIAT to discuss possibilities of a joint project, co-funding via the both ministries to repair Front Street as well. So the road markings we're going to have done very soon, and also Front Street. We're going to have a meeting as to how we can get some financing going to with the both ministries in collaboration to have that repaired in preparation for what is to be expected then. So at the end of the day, Stephen, it boils down to numbers and finances, sorry.
Thank you, Minister Duran, and thank you, Stephen, for the question. Members of the media, this does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable ministers of the council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the Live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Gov Radio via 107.9 FM, Telems, Tel TV Plus, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin, and St. Martin Cable TV Channel 115. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach and wishing you a pleasant day further.